following the failed attempt by the 8th National Assembly to pass the Electoral Act Amendment Bill before the 2019 general election, members of the 9th Assembly have taken it upon themselves to get the legislation passed into law before 2023. However, fears have been raised over the allegations that some presiding officers in the Senate have inserted clauses in the proposed bill that are at variance with what was agreed by the standing committees of the Independent National Electoral Commission of both chambers of Parliament. If the allegations ring true, this will open the floodgates of abuse by officials of the Electoral Commission and will further compromise the integrity of the electoral process in the country. To discuss the key amendments to the Electoral Act, we shall now be joined from our Abuja studio by Honorable Rimamnde Shawulu, the member representing the Donga, Ussa, Takum Special Area Federal Constituency of Taraba State in the National Assembly. Good morning, Honorable. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me this morning.
Well, Honorable Shawulu, there have been reports in the papers, also in the social media and everywhere, about this insertion of strange clauses into the proposed Electoral Act Amendment Bill. As someone who is a member of the National Assembly, will you help us shed some light on the veracity of this, particularly with regard to the talk about electronic transmission of votes, also about the time of preparation for elections, and also about campaign finance?
Well, usually reports of committees are handed over to members a few days before time so that they can have access to the reports, they can read them and understand what is contained, what the recommendations of the various committees are. In this case, we have not received reports of the committees, of the Committee on Electoral Matters. They've not been distributed to members of the House. And so the information we have is the same information that the public has, namely that what is published in the social media is what we can refer to. And some of the issues raised in the social media are very worrying, especially with regards to the question of how results will be transmitted to the collection center. The INEC had informed us and boasted that it had practiced or attempted to experiment that practice in some of the off-season elections that were done a few months ago. And it reported that they were successful and that such innovations were going to help or will help to clean up the electoral system. Unfortunately, what we're hearing or what we've been seeing the last 72 hours are very worrying, especially the fact that an insertion is alleged to have been put into the into the report that that results cannot or shall not be transmitted electronically. That is actually worrying, and I've read a few posts by some members of the committees on INEC on electoral matters who said that that is an insertion that they did not. They are not aware of such a decision. So we are waiting. The House of Representatives Committee on Electoral Matters is meeting this afternoon, I think by 3 o'clock. Members will be giving the report, and it's from there that we'll actually know what has taken place.
Right. At that meeting, can you give us some kind of a heads up about what you will discuss? Are you going to absolutely reject this proposed Section 50, subsection 2?
Yeah, I'm not a member of the Electoral Committee. I was a member in the 8th Assembly, but in the current Assembly, I'm not a member. But I've seen a lot of revulsion. People are disappointed. Members of the committee, some have written posts that are very disappointed, and they have said that the decisions that they took did not include that one. I'm sure it's likely going to be a rowdy session. And then I will also doubt it whether tomorrow the report will be laid before the House, because up to this moment that I'm speaking to you, the report has not been distributed. Members are not aware of the report. So, and you cannot bring such an important matter on the day that you want the report to be considered, a report that is well over 100 pages, and expect that members of the House will sit down within a few minutes and consider the report. We are expecting that if the report is late, or the report will be distributed to members, and then members will go through the report, consult with their constituencies or constituents and the major stakeholders that they have, and then we head for the consideration of the report. But I don't expect that members would take that lightly for these two reasons. First, you will recall that in the 8th Assembly, part of the reasons why the bill was not assented to was the fact that the president kept bringing up issues, spelling mistakes, problems with syntax, disagreements with interpretations, and at the end of the day, the members of the leadership of the National Assembly decided, okay, whatever the man wants, whatever the president wants to do, we'll give it to him. Then this was what he brought was handed back to him, and then he wrote back to say that the report that the electoral bill could not be assented to because it was too late, that it breached the ECOWAS protocol or agreement on electoral matters, and so it was not signed. And we've been waiting for 2 years. We're in the 3rd year. Nothing has been done. Let's hope that this controversial clause that has been included is not a plan to ensure that controversies are brought up so that the bill will not be signed at all.
Okay. I mean, great point you made, sir, as regards all of this. And I'd like to, at first, pick your brain a little bit about some of the clauses you put in there that the president then said maybe you didn't spell the words properly and gave a lot of very, I don't want to qualify those reasons now, for not signing it, because that was the actual document a lot of people look forward to. And secondly, you're right. In fact, INEC purchased something called a Z-pad in the Edo elections to transmit results electronically. And all of us have applauded that Edo elections as the freest and the fairest in a while. In fact, let me go one step further. There are many different newspaper articles celebrating the Z-pad as the solution to Nigeria's electoral problem. In fact, one says the Z-pad is the secret. So with this new clause, it means that the Z-pad is dead on arrival, because everybody thought that this Anambra election was going to take what INEC did in Edo one step further and to the, in quote, like they say in Nigeria, next level. So what happens to the things like the Z-pads of this world? Can you hear me, sir?
Well, as a matter of fact, yes, I can hear you. As a matter of fact, you know that democracy means inclusiveness. You include everybody. The inclusiveness of democracy ensures that, one, you tap all talents. Number two, it leads to the explosion of creativity in the land. And we're hoping that so far everybody has agreed that the political leadership of this country has been responsible from 1960 up to date for the problems that we have in Nigeria. The fact that we have a country that is going to buy equipment from countries that started at the same time with it in the 60s is worrying. We have a system where Nigerians succeed excellently well in other parts of the world, but when they come to Nigeria, they don't succeed because there are certain things that hold down the people from succeeding. Now, we are having a situation where democracy, it is a very democratic practice. The reforms that were implemented by President Goodluck Jonathan that brought this government to power. Unfortunately, the very reforms that brought the government to power are the reforms that government is attacking and trying to ensure that they do not succeed. Unfortunately, it is historical. If you recall, Hitler was elected to become the leader in Germany. And after his election, he stood with and started cutting down, started destroying the very fundamentals of the society, to the extent that a world war was fought, a devastating world war, which led to the establishment of a rule-based international system that has seen the growth of technology, that has seen the growth of economy the way that we have never seen, that has seen the total integration of the world. Now we are coming to Nigeria, where the absence of the rule of law, the absence of procedure and processes in doing things has led us to a situation where elections today, you probably know who is going to win the election, but you may not know the process that will lead to the person winning the election. That is contrary to democratic norm. In democracy, you are supposed to know the process of the electoral system, how things are going to take place, but the result, because people vote secretly, remains secret. You don't know it till votes are cast. And it's very unfortunate that we're going back on these reforms that have brought us this way. And I dare say that if this attack on democracy continue, you are going to see increased demand for secession. You are going to see increased banditry. You are going to see increased disappointment of people in the political leadership and things that are happening. And you see people trying to now use self-help to help themselves. I don't think that this is the legacy President Muhammadu Buhari will want to leave for the people of this country. I think he needs to call his men to order so that we have an electoral system that will reflect the wishes of the people at the various levels. Now, you have a situation where even the basic things that the people of this country are supposed to produce and sell, what is supposed to make us be the type of people we are, the biggest black race in the world. You know that out of every 10 black people in the world, 4 of them are Nigerians. And you are giving the impression that the black people don't do well. I mean, what is happening in Nigeria is so disappointing, and it's not correct. What we need to do is the public, everybody should rise up and insist that the reforms which were started by President Goodluck Jonathan, the reforms which the present INEC leadership has said that it is embarking on, are respected. Everywhere in the world, people are looking for a process that will make things seamless, that will make things work. Even in Nigeria, we are asking people to register their phones, because we think that registering their phones, registering their SIM cards will make things work seamlessly. Why will you tell people to register their SIM cards and you don't want to use an electronic system for the election? Why are we using double standards?
Well, Honorable Shawulu, well, 2 quick things. One, I mean, you've been in the National Assembly for quite a while. Is it possible that what is being alleged had occurred in the past, or it could happen again, that after a joint committee has agreed on certain clauses in a piece of legislation, by the time it returns to plenary for final third reading, some people will have gone behind to insert certain things into it? Is it something that happens routinely in that National Assembly? And then we'd like you to comment on campaign finance, which is one of the major issues under the Section 88 of the draft of the electoral bill that is going around. 15 billion for anybody who wants to run for the position of president. 5 billion naira as alleged if anybody wants to be governor. And I guess, you know, another billion, more or less, for whoever wants to go to the House of Representatives. What are your thoughts on those two issues?
Well, first of all, on the issue of whether people or leadership can insert materials into reports of the committee, well, at a certain level, let me put it this way. The Constitution, I think Section 56 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as altered, says that no decision of any committee is a decision of the House until the question has been put before the House and it has been determined by vote, if it's going to be a yes vote or whatever vote. So any report from any committee is not a decision of the House. And secondly, even reports of committees are recommendations to the House. Those reports will have to be accepted at plenary. That is what is happening now. I also do know that in the 8th Assembly, some reports of committees were stepped down because a member of such committees stood up to say that those reports were either not discussed or the reports were not a reflection of the decision of the House or of the committee. And if the person is allowed to speak at the plenary, the person can call attention to those ones. But even in that case, the House can decide at that level to go ahead to take a decision. It's the decision of the House in plenary that matters, not the decisions of the committee.
Okay.
The point is that as at this point, as at the time I'm speaking to you, the reports have not been distributed to members. And they are, as far as democracy is concerned, elections are life and death matter, especially the process. So you cannot come within one day and give reports to people when they are seated that they should take decisions on reports that they have not read at home. They have not had time to study. That is the first point that I'm talking about.
If I may interject, we only have a minute to go. We'd like to take your response to the question Dr. Abati asked about campaign finance. And also, what can we conclude from the fact that we have yet to hear from the Speaker or the President of the Senate, as he likes to be referred to? Is that a case of silence being acquiescence?
No, not that way. It's when the reports come before the House that you will know that. That is one. On the issue of campaign financing, my opinion is that what that has said is the cap, the maximum that can be spent. If you spend above that one, then you become liable. But the problem with that is that what mechanism is in place to know how much people are spending? There's really no mechanism on ground to know how people are spending money. So how do you cap it?
Anyway, well, on that note, we'd like to thank you very much, Honorable Shawulu, for joining us on the morning show. And you can be sure all of us will be keeping a watching brief on what happens when that electoral bill shows up again before the National Assembly. Thank you very much for joining us.